So if they can pay attention, and go to court, we take them there. If they like, if they like engaging and are able to participate in our mock trial processes, we've done that if they're of the appropriate age and attention span. We've had interns who have spent the entire summer. We've got some who continue to come back. We've got law students. It's gotten to the point now where we have some of our junior Commonwealth attorneys are matriculating through college. Some are now in law school, and some are even finishing up law school and talking about applying in the office. So it truly has been special to watch that program. We've had over 200 people come through that program, young people. And then also, as you all know, before COVID-19 hit, I spent a great amount of time in the schools going to engage, not to do a scared straight, but to say, I'm from Portsmouth, I'm from Truxton, I graduated from Northam. That means that you can do everything I'm doing and so much more because I'm the same as you, and I believe in you. And so, trying to be present for our young people, trying to let them know how brilliant they are, how much they can accomplish, and that truly people are out here rooting for them, wanting them to succeed, and just sharing with them about the dangers of, really your behaviors and how they can manifest themselves in problems with the law, and having real conversations with them about what happens when you hang with the wrong people, and the concept of concert of action, and how somebody's actions and what they're doing, you can be held accountable for. So that's, a really quick, brief version of the Future Leaders Initiative. And then there's also the Control Alt Delete program, which is aimed at, people who have been formerly incarcerated and adults who have had issues, and trying to be, again, a support system from a place where usually there is no support for people who have had trouble, but recognizing that so many in our community have been impacted by this system and truly, don't want to be subject to a life of incarceration and have their families subject to this, and truly want to success, to experience success and have a chance at a life where they can build opportunity for generations to come within their family.
I have a question
You
because
mentioned total expungement. And how is that different from a governor's pardon? And you just mentioned about those people that have been through the system. How is that different from a governor's pardon, as far as giving those people that probably been through the system an opportunity to come back and share their experience, however good or however bad it is, with our youth? Because unless they have total expungement, they might be restricted from working in certain areas. So the difference between total expungement and maybe a governor's pardon.
Right. So the way I used the term was true expungement.
True expungement, yeah.
Because in Virginia, and we don't truly have real expungements right now. We have expungements where you've either been found not guilty, you've had your charges dismissed, or a null prosequi, which means that they were dropped. Which means that if you have been convicted in Virginia, right now your crimes cannot be expunged. So if you think about somebody who, we know that right now at 18 years old, brains are not fully developed. So if you think about somebody who at 18 years old was in college and was cold and was hungry and stole a beer, to be warm. And they get convicted of petty larceny. By the time this person is 38 years old and has a family and is working a job and has not been convicted of anything else, why are we not having automatic expungements in the Commonwealth of Virginia? Why is this mistake that this person was held accountable for criminally? Why are they still paying for this mistake 10, 20, 30 years down the road? Why is it still following them? And so I'm not saying, for people who have violated people in very problematic ways and in very harmful ways, violent ways, and, have harmed children and things like that. I'm not advocating for expungement in instances where we need protection and we need to know what a person has done. For a perfect example is having the sex offender registry. I would never say that we need to absolve anyone of that type of liability and responsibility, accountability for those types of crimes. But when we're talking about something that somebody has done years ago that is still saddling them in the way that I just described, in that instance where that person is 18 years old, has made a mistake, and then we know that their brain is not fully developed, in that instance, why is the Commonwealth of Virginia still behind? why are we not providing that opportunity for either automatic expungement, which is what I would prefer, or an opportunity to apply for expungement where somebody has been found guilty. Another example is when we talk about marijuana decriminalization and legalization. Well, now conversations are being had about legalization. Well, that will bring industry, that will bring opportunity, that will bring an ability to build wealth. Well, there are many people in our community, in the Black community, who have been, incarcerated for years behind this very same thing that we're now talking about legalizing.
Right.
And there are barriers to owning that type of business if you've previously been convicted. And so if now we're saying as a society that should not be a crime, then those instances should automatically be expunged so that there is the ability to build industry, wealth, and opportunity for people in our community who have been overcriminalized. And so that is what I mean when I say that we need true and automatic expungement, because right now we don't have that ability where anyone has been convicted. Now, a pardon is when the governor can come in and say, I'm going to absolve you of liability for this. There are different types of pardons. There are conditional pardons where maybe you're just being released and the governor is not saying that you are actually innocent and they're not removing it from your record, but they're allowing you to be released. Or in some instances where there's evidence that a person is actually innocent, they may use their pardon authority to completely absolve that person of liability for that. So we could have endless conversation around this, but my desire to have expungements is to truly create an opportunity for second chances for people. And again, in areas of the law where we are now reconsidering whether or not this should be unlawful, if we're saying it should not be, then we have a responsibility to go back and right the wrongs against people who have been incarcerated for something that we now believe should be legal.
Stephanie, in talking about that, as you young progressive attorneys come forth with your programs, what is it that we can do about this 3 strikes you're out program?
Well, that's something that, we're working on. That is something that we're advocating for. That when I mentioned that petty larceny third, that is a third strike. That is an escalation from a misdemeanor to a felony, simply because you've done something for the third time. That's arbitrary.
Right.
There really is. That's like a baseball analogy that somebody felt sounded good. That has led to so much mass incarceration. And so we are advocating for an end to that. We're advocating also for an end to mandatory minimum. There are judges who have, you asked me how the relationship was or how the judges, are performing in our system. They are in place because the members of our General Assembly put them there to serve the public, and so if they are there to do that, I trust that in instances where someone has done something tremendously dangerous, that they will sentence them accordingly, or that the members of our community who are serving as jurors will sentence accordingly. But these 3 strikes and these mandatory minimums, they have overwhelmingly disproportionately impacted Black people.
Right.
And we have to look and take responsibility for making sure that we undo these harms. It's called restorative justice, to try to right the wrongs of the past and to get it right now and in the future. And so that's something, again, that we are advocating for, we'll continue to advocate for, and that I've advocated for a long time, since before I had a company. And so I'm glad to have, people along with me doing it to bring it on a larger scale.
And one other thing, Stephanie, I know personally that you have gone into the penal system to talk to the young men and women who are incarcerated. Share with us some of the things that you are trying to do when you go in to talk to these individuals who are incarcerated.
Yes, so that, I started going in the prisons with the Control Alt Delete program in 2016. Control Alt Delete started.
Say the program again.
Control Alt Delete.
Okay.
Like resetting the computer.
Okay.
And
which my computer just did. I apologize. It tried to install something that I didn't want, so I apologize.
Right. So that program started in 2015 and doing seminar in the community. And then in 2016, you now have Genoa Everett over there with you guys at the sheriff department doing an amazing job. But he was at St. Bride. And he said, would you be interested in coming to St. Bride? And I said, I sure would, because I have this Control Alt Delete program that I would love to bring inside instead of waiting until people come out why not do it, in advance and have, dialogue and workshops. And so the very first time I went, I actually took with me Dana Bente, who was a United States Attorney for Virginia at the time. I dragged him there to tell the people incarcerated about what resources were available on the federal side. And then I had my program to give a workshop about, again, understanding the lack of expungement, understanding the restoration of rights process, talking about the job preparedness process. I got with James Bailey, who is an advocate for people seeking jobs who have been convicted of felonies. He gave me a list of over 100 employers who would employ people who were coming out. And so we provided them with real resources. We had dialogue with them, and then we ate with them. And then we had, I opened up this opportunity for them to ask and say whatever they wanted, as long as it was respectful. And the conversation that followed was truly amazing, because I got to hear what they experienced, what their families experienced. And ever since then, I've been doing what I can to try to create a platform for them to tell their own story, so that people can understand, when you incarcerate somebody, this is not a place where somebody needs to go to get clean. This is not a place somebody can go to get, mental health services. This is a place where they are there to, deal with whatever sentence they got. And it's not a healing place.
Right.
Any place that is like that, where someone is incarcerated and they can get that is miraculous, but that is not the standard. It is not somewhere that's safe. It is not somewhere, that we send a person to help build them up. And so it was really an impactful experience that first time. And so we continue to go back, and have visited other correctional facilities in the state of Virginia. And I've even been to correctional facilities and had these dialogues outside of the state. And so it is something that has been impactful, bless you, to me, but I have tried to walk away from that in a place where I create opportunities to allow those who traditionally are not heard or not seen to raise their voices, and so that people will understand what is happening when you incarcerate a person, not only to that person, but also to family.
That's right.
Right. But before we get to the next section, I just want to put a shout out to those who are listening on Facebook and over the airways. If you like what you're seeing and hearing, we at Hampton Road 7 City Forum LLC are collecting donations, or if you'd like to sponsor us so we can expand these programs, you can write us or email us out and write us or send a donation into Hampton Roads 7 Cities Forum LLC, P.O. Box 7664, Portsmouth, Virginia 23707. And if you'd like to email us, Slim, you have our email address?
Of course, the email is hr7citiesforums@yahoo.com. That's hr7citiesforums@yahoo.com. Please email us. And as we get to the time where we have to close out the radio portion of this program, I would like to thank all the listeners for listening on WGPL 1350 AM on your dial this morning. And for the Facebook listeners, hang in there. We're going to go another 15 minutes, if it's okay with our Commonwealth attorney, and talk a little bit more about the subject. So thank you, everyone, and happy Martin Luther King Day to all the radio listeners out there. And God bless you. And always remember that we are here with our voice,
our community,
and our future.
Thank you so much. God bless you. Have a great day. We will continue on with the Facebook portion of our show. So, Colonel, I think you might want to have a question or comment. So continue, please.
Yes, Stephanie, you talked about all the programs that you're doing. Are you doing any collecting for long-term data for all, so later on after you're reelected and in the future, so somebody can come back and says, these programs were a success, or we can highlight the achievements of such and such that who was touched by your programs? Anybody doing the collection of that or doing long-term studies?
So that's a really good question. We have, I have relationships with other organizations that I've formed as a result of the work that I've done here and around the country. And I have had discussions about data collection with prestigious, Ivy League universities. I've had people to come in from Vera Institute and do some analysis and gathering of information. But the important thing to point out about gathering of data is that my programs are not funded.
Right.
So, my programs, I have to make very clear that my programs are founded, by me and are run and staffed by me and the administrative professionals and the attorneys in my office. So we don't have grant funding. We don't have additional funding where we can say like, all right, we're going to, pay somebody to collect this data or to gather this. When when we have this program, we just get it done. We schedule things on a certain date. We set aside time, for young people to go into the prisons to do all this, and it's set up by the members of my staff. And then we just go do it and we carve out time. So there is no, this isn't pretty. This isn't a process that is, put together by anybody on the outside who has extra time. This is done by the very same people who are addressing the homicides, who are dealing with court on a day-to-day basis, who are dealing with these very serious issues on a day-to-day basis. So while the short answer is, yes, we've been working on that. We've been talking to these amazing organizations and entities, yes. But it is a difficult thing to capture data in the right way, in a way to measure it. But I can say, when I have people who have been incarcerated and, we're there at St. Bride's and then they come out and they come to the office and they tell me where they are, how they're doing and what they're up to. And they stay in contact and they say, come visit this school with me. And, there's that engagement there, it's a success. Because even if I just reach 5 people when I go into the prison and I see them turn their lives around and take advantage of all the opportunities and stay on the right track, that's a success. But how do I measure, the number of children that I go into the schools and talk to? How do I measure, like I said, I have young people who have matriculated through my program at the office who I now see, finishing up college, finishing up law school. So I could see the success, I could see the results right before my eyes. But then going into the school, constantly and not keep it, I have no idea how to calculate that other than to say that, I need it done on a larger scale. I need everybody to do it. I need all the people who have gotten a professional degree or who are working in a profession to pour into the lives of young people, to let them know how important they are, and to engage in trying to turn that light bulb on for them. So, that was a very long answer to a short question. But I don't, yeah, I don't think it's simple. Yeah.
But it's admirable what you're doing. But data leads to grants, and so even my suggestion on the academic side is to have somebody in the office or one of those students that's working on a master's in criminal justice that comes into one of your programs, suggest to them that they write a non-journaled article on what you're doing, and maybe it'll catch somebody that will write, will stroke a check to your organization to help this, help you along. Because if it's in those journals, then it catches somebody's eye.
Okay. Let me ask a question here. As I said, my Zoom went out on me during the time when you were talking about your Live Free program. And I know there are a lot of organizations that are out here saying they're going to address the issues of the crime and the homicides in Portsmouth, but we just seem to be so splintered. You got this group over here, you have that group over here, instead of us all coming together with and that Live Free program, the portion that I was able to hear, seems like a viable avenue for us to become involved in to address some of the issues that we're having with crime in Portsmouth. Now, what can we do to help to get that program into the city of Portsmouth?
So that, again, that program is something that, to be very clear, Pastor McBride is willing to come here and has been for years. And when we look at what we're doing and how it's not working, I think all of us who are working on and have been, you all have been advocating my whole life. And I have been advocating my whole adult life to try to get this right, but we have to take a different approach. And we see, again, I have seen the numbers and, as the Colonel said, the data that has shown the success of this program in California. And at this point, I think, if it's something that we all want, we have to make that known to our council, who has the ability to decide to budget that, and to have those conversations with Pastor McBride and his organization to bring them here and to get us started on that track to, again, investing in community. We're going to, we have limited resources, to be very clear. We can either take the money from somewhere else, to engage with investing in community, or we can reduce incarceration, and we can take the resources from incarceration on nonviolent offenses and use that to invest in community. And hopefully we stop the violent offenses. When we provide opportunities, for people, again, for young people to have education, for them to have food, for them to have housing, for them to have opportunity for a successful future, maybe we eradicate some of the harms that we've seen that contribute to anger. We're not talking about anger. We're not talking about young people who don't know how to deal with their emotions. We're not talking about the psychology of it, about whether people are getting medical attention.
Exactly.
We're not talking about, depression and whether these young people value their lives. Because if you're taking somebody else's life, it's very likely that you don't care about your own if it's coming from a place of anger. People meeting up to fight, meeting up to hurt each other, things like that. We talk about is, oh, well, this person did that. We need to find these people and lock them up. Okay, well, maybe there does need to be accountability. Maybe there should be incarceration for violent offenses, but we're not talking about how people are hurting, how these young people are hurting, how they're dealing with depression, how they're dealing with anger, how they're hungry, how they don't have resources. Right. And some of them are out here just trying to survive. So I am advocating for this program. I'm happy to provide information to you guys so that you can, look over some of the success stories. And so that we can, if this is something that we want as a community, we can advocate for it, because it will bring, different people together for this common goal. And it will be something different that we have not tried before.
Thank you very much.
Hey, Attorney Morales, don't worry about your long answers, because I used to ask my father simple questions and got 15-minute answers every time. So that's what attorneys do, long answers to short questions. But
that's right.
Yeah, usually most informative. But so thank you. I want to, one of our first guests that we had in this series against crime was Dr. Bruce Copeland, who is a clinical social worker. And I know in the court systems, a lot of times attorneys use professionals of psychology and psychiatry, mostly defense, but sometimes the prosecution may use them. So how important is it going to be to include those kind of professionals, those people that study human behavior, in our collective effort in trying to deal with the violent crime in the city of Portsmouth, especially with our youth? It's
critical. And I don't think you would have had Dr. Copeland on if you didn't already know that. So I think you've come to that conclusion. And, it's critical. We cannot have conversations that result in any success without taking a holistic approach. That means that we cannot just say like, all right, well, let's focus on the outcome and let's be reactive. If we're truly going to see some success, we need to be proactive. And we need to approach this in a way that we haven't approached it before. And, I think that our justice system as a whole has been uncaring. It has been uncaring. It has been very interested in only the outcome. And again, it has disproportionately impacted Black communities, Black families, Black people. And so now if we're going to try to see a different outcome and we're going to change the status quo, we have to take a caring, loving approach. We need to genuinely be concerned with the success of people. And that doesn't just mean like, okay, this person has not gotten themselves into trouble, has not committed crime, has not gotten incarcerated. That doesn't mean that person is successful. We need to create opportunities for young people, for families to build wealth, for them to, talking about trust and hopefully that we can get trust back into the White House now. Well, that still has to be earned, because it wasn't just Democrats or Republicans who have done harm. Everybody has done harm in this country to Black communities, and there has been nothing done to reconcile that. Nothing has been done to change the fabric of this country. Anybody who was shocked at what happened at the Capitol the other day. I don't know why, because our country is very violent in nature. That's
Exactly.
how it was founded.
Mhm.
And there has been nothing done to move away from that. And so for people to be so appalled when young Black people are violent, well, what has this country taught us to be other
Mhm.
than violence?
That's right.
It has not loved us.
It's what
And
we
so
promote.
it is time for us to love each other. And
Exactly.
it's time for us to love our young people and to show them all the love that this country traditionally has not shown to us.
You know, that's a great point. But you know what? I also look at the justice system as
Okay.
being a money system. That way it costs so much. I think I saw some studies between $43,000 and $53,000 a year to keep one Black person or one person locked up. So with the programs that you're doing, and what you're doing is teach them how, if you teach a man or a woman to hunt, then I can feed myself. And then I don't have to go into the system, and the system doesn't have to pay that $53,000. And now if I can hunt, fish, and feed myself, meaning a job, employment, or et cetera, then I'm a great member of society. And that is the piece that a lot of the pro police, pro justice folks on the other side talk about. We just want to lock you up
Mhm.
and don't want to put money into programs like yours to keep people out and teach them how to hunt and fish, to use an analogy.
Mhm.
So I might have answered the question that I was just.
Yes, you did.
Okay. I thought you were just dropping knowledge. I mean, I didn't think that was a question. There's nothing left to be said.
But let me say something though. I recently heard on I think it was MSNBC about these 2,300 elected prosecutors. And of that 2,300 elected prosecutors, the majority are white male. So it's only until we started getting you young progressive people of color that we are now beginning to see some changes evolving within the system. And it's all because of the works that you all are doing in order to change what's been happening, because it has been a cash cow. The criminal justice system is a cash cow, and so it's important that we support young progressive people of color, because the majority of the people who are going through our penal system are people of color. And the only way they're going to get a fair shake is because of the young progressives who are out here trying to make change. That was my little plug there for you, Miss Stephanie.
Thank you.
All
Yeah,
our
but
hosts are dropping
you're
knowledge this morning.
yeah, and you're just to put in perspective what you just said, of the elected prosecutors, 2% are Black women.
That's right.
Mm.
And that speaks volumes. But of those 2%, I know those Black women, and the work that we have all done around police accountability, around bail reform, around trying to work with our young people. We have been through the fire for that.
Mm-hmm.
We have caught all kinds of smoke for that, and been subject to so much misogyny and racism all at the same time. And now that the progressive, prosecutor movement is happening, and we're seeing progressive prosecutors come
Mm-hmm.
along, we're also interestingly seeing some of these white male progressive prosecutors be applauded for some of the very same things that we were attacked for
Right.
the past 5+ years.
Mm-hmm.
And so it is important too for people to know that when we're doing this work, we need for y'all to have our back. It feels very lonely. It feels frustrating when you have to deal with ugly behavior, and you're fighting for a cause.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have time to deal with all the ugliness while I'm trying to fight for this cause. Now I will,
Mm-hmm.
but it can be very lonely and problematic, and it is very touching when we have the love and support of the community behind us when we're trying to do this work. So if you have, I know everybody in Portsmouth is watching, who your prosecutor is, but for those who are watching this maybe from further away, if you have a progressive prosecutor, especially a Black woman, have her back as she fights against the status quo. It is not an easy thing to do.
And Stephanie, you said for those who are watching, I want you to know that Wayne Too Good in Australia is watching us right now. He's a friend of
Wow.
mine in Australia. So Wayne, you can take this back to your family in Australia, and maybe we can get Stephanie to come over and talk to you all about how to get progressive prosecutors in Australia. But Stephanie, I know, and as I know that you have received a lot of flack as you have advocated for to deal with excessive force and accountability of our police officers, which has not taken place in the past. And I know that you have received a lot of slack from your trying to move in that direction. Could you share something with us on that?
Yeah, so you will always receive flack when you're pushing up against the status quo. And for so long, as you said, there has been a lack of accountability. The thing is, though, I hold myself accountable. And so if there has been an injustice, even more than holding law enforcement or anybody who committed that injustice accountable, I hold myself accountable to make sure that I'm doing right. And so, we've seen the instance where we've had officer involved shootings and different things that have been addressed, by me in my office. But then we saw what just happened with the monument cases, where people were charged, and I was tasked with looking to see whether the elements were met, and they were not. And I do not care about whether anybody likes me when it comes to doing what's right. And so I know that there were people who were upset and who wanted their way, but I'm very interested in whether any of those same people who were upset, who wanted their way, had anything to say about what happened at the Capitol last week.
Amen.
And so things truly have a way of revealing themselves. But for me, I focus on doing what's right every single time when it comes to this job, no matter how difficult it is or how much flack I take. But it got ugly. This past time around these monument cases, there were people who were racist and saying very vile things, and wanted to be threatening and intimidating. And I will never. It doesn't matter. I will not shy away from doing what's right and for holding people accountable, whether that looks like prosecuting, police, or whether that looks like saying, I will not go forward with these cases that you brought because the elements are not met. And the important thing to point out is that with those monument cases, that was something that drew a great deal of attention. But I have to make sure that I'm on guard every single day, and that the attorneys in my office are on guard every single day when there is no attention. Because this is the type of thing that people have to be protected against who don't have, money or don't have anybody looking out or advocating for them. That's where we have to stand in the gap to make sure things are being done the right way. If officers are bringing cases the right way, if elements are met, if nobody's rights are being violated, we get along perfectly well. We get along perfectly well. No problems whatsoever. Have a great deal of respect for anyone who is risking their lives for our safety, to protect us and serve. And as long as you are doing that, we are wonderful. But if there are violations of people's rights, use of excessive force, and charges not being properly brought, we have an issue.
Okay.
Yes, working together within the constraints of the law is so important in order to achieve what we're trying to achieve here, a cooperative effort of everybody in order to solve these crimes. I want to bring this up because it's important. I didn't notice until the colonel kind of sat back and I saw that Norfolk State Spartan shirt. And we are full of people
from Spartans in here. You got 3 Spartans in the house, James.
Yeah, and Colonel also represents Hampton University, so it's important that people know. And our Commonwealth attorney is a graduate of Norfolk State University as well. And it's important people know how important HBCUs are in developing great minds and giving people a great opportunity, especially at Virginia Union University. But I had to slip that in for all these Spartans around me. But anyway, all of our HBCUs are important. And also, Stephanie, I'd like to mention you're a member of Delta, you're a cat owner for one thing. I'd like to mention you're a member of Delta Sigma Theta, an organization that does a lot of work in our communities. And as well as your professional organization, as well as the links. Are you a link?
I am a link.
Another professional organization of women that that's nationwide that does a lot of work in our communities. Even our social organizations are involved in our communities and what it takes for all of us to come together to make our communities safer and better. So we appreciate that. Just had to throw that in about the HBCUs. You know, we have to.
Yeah.
And James, and let me say on a lighter note, Stephanie, in light of the fact that you are really, really working hard to motivate young people, not only in the internships, working in your office, the various programs, but you have also become an author.
Yes.
Would you like to share with us something about the wonderful book the day you decided to become a lawyer? Huh?
Yes. Yes. So that is one of the best things that has happened for me and my family lately. We truly love the process of writing that book. It's called The Day I Became a Lawyer. It's available on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, wherever you buy books. Online, it's there. And you know, when I talk to young people and when I go visit schools, I always tell them the story. So any young person who I've been to their school, if they read this story, they're gonna say, "Oh my goodness, this is what she told us when she came to visit in school." You know, because what we decided to do was we wanted to expand that reach. You know, we wanted to expand that reach, but we also wanted to do something as a family to kind of broaden the opportunities for ourselves. And this is not the last children's book. So it was really special. It was the story of, you know, kind of what I like to do. And I won't give it away, but I think you guys probably know this about me. But there's a character trait that I've always had ever since I was a little girl. And there was a notation that was always on my report card that was an indicator about what I like to do. Do you all have any idea what it could be?
Oh,
Tell us.
What did y'all say?
I said, tell us.
Tell us. He said, what did you say, Colonel?
I believe it's probably talk.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right. So, you
It's the
know,
right
it
profession.
yeah, you know, it gets into kind of who I was as a young person and then my journey to figuring out what I wanted to do. So, the illustrations, we were able to find an amazing woman, Yvonne Frederick, who brought the story to life with her illustrations, to just, you know, once again, try to expand the reach of that story to inspire young people to think about what they want to do, even if it's, you know, not a career in the law. I spent a lot of time, more time than you guys would imagine, with young people through my program talking about other careers.
Mhm.
But as long as it's something that they, you know, will enjoy, that will feel like an extension of themselves, we want to encourage that and build our young people up and let them know how brilliant they are. So that, you know, that was something that was fun, but a lot of work that we're really happy to see come to fruition.
And a great motivator for your two beautiful daughters as well as your sons, but
And my
especially
son.
for your two lovely daughters, okay?
Let me give a shout out to Lewis, the other half, and the parents of the 4 children. And I must say, Stephanie, I remember you as a little girl reading, and I guess reading leads to comprehension, then to
Yeah.
talk.
Mhm.
So it's appropriate that you have a book out for the young folks to follow that same path that you took.
And
And
James, and not only the amazing
yeah,
thing is
talk us up.
three from Norfolk State, but also 3 from the Truxton community.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, you have to throw that in. You know, community.
That's right.
But anyway, I guess the Colonel, as we sort of wrap up here, Colonel, I guess you have something.
But before you wrap up, I have a question someone just sent to me. How do you apply for an internship in your office?
All
Steph,
right. So I'm going to give you guys the email.
okay?
Okay. So Logan, LOGANM at portsmouthva.gov.
Okay. Logan,
Okay, so that's the email, but we also have an information piece on our website, Portsmouth CWA. So if you just Google Portsmouth Commonwealth Attorney's Office, it will bring up our website, and you can click over to our initiatives, and there should be information for you to fill out there as well. But really, you know, I will be honest, our internships, we provide opportunities for internships. But even if you don't have the time to do an internship, we take shadow. You know, we try to engage with people, whether you have a day, whether you have a week, we try to meet young people where they are.
wonderful.
So have your young person reach out. We are even doing things virtually. We have not allowed COVID-19 to interfere with that. I meet with my interns 3 times a week when they're in school, virtually. And, even before we started back up with their school session internship, a good friend of mine and brother, Breon Wells, he has an internship and fellowship program called the Daniel Initiative in DC. So we put ours together and we're meeting with our interns every Wednesday night. So we had interns from Portsmouth, from DC, from New York, from all over. We had somebody in Colorado. We had, all over who were on virtually on Zoom with us every Wednesday night. So we will always find a way to engage with our young people. So email us. If you're on social media, you're welcome to inbox me, DM me, whatever it takes for us to get to these young people, we will do it.
Well, I'm going to put a plug in for my granddaughter who's entering her 3rd year at North Carolina A&T, and she's interested. I'm going to tell her to get in touch with you. Okay.
Yeah. Send her on.
She's trying to make up her mind as to whether she wants to apply for law school or not.
Send her on to me. I will say this, for our young Black people, when you go to law school and you talk to lawyers, sometimes they will say, "Oh, don't go to law school. The profession is saturated with lawyers. There are too many lawyers." That does not apply to our young Black people. There are not enough Black lawyers. We need more representation within the legal field and definitely within the field of prosecution. So that is an amazing option. There she goes again.
It's amazing my dog is not in here, because usually when she hears Jane's voice, she comes in and wants to be a part of the conversation.
So I have a dog too, but I don't know what's up with this one. She's like determined to be in here today. But we absolutely have to develop young people, Black people within this profession. And this is an opportunity, again, to build businesses. A lot of our young people, they don't want a traditional job. They want to own a business.
Exactly.
Having a law degree is very diverse. You can own your own firm. You can have a consulting business. You can teach. There are different areas of the law, entertainment law. There are so many different things, health law, so many different industries. And it's an amazing option. So I would love to have your granddaughter. I will talk to her. And then if she's not interested in doing that, I will support her in whatever she does.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that very much.
Our young people need all the support that they can get, and we need to look after them as a village, as you guys have done. As you guys have done.
But this is so enlightening. I tell you, I don't want it to come to an end.
I know. But I have one comment and one question before we go off air. The comment is, I'm a retired Army nurse. I've been a nurse since 1981. It's a long time. So I'm on that helping and healing profession. And as you know, in the Hindu faith, and when you die, you come back as something else. If I died today and I was a Hindu faith, you know what? And I could truly say I would like to come back. I do like to talk too. Come back as a lawyer.
We know.
Wow.
I love debating, and so that was my comment. But my question would be, as you talked about expungement, are there resources out there to help me get my record expunged for so many people? Because I talk to people about who've been incarcerated or out here and that are now free, and I talk about, have you gone back and got your record expunged? Or I talk to veterans that have gotten bad discharge conduct on their DD-214s, and I tell them how to go to the VA.gov site and how to get their record or have their DD-214 have it upgraded to honorable so they can get their benefits. So as far as being expunged from in the legal system, is there resources out there to help me through this process?
So I don't have, a clear answer to that right now, because like I said, right now, my efforts are creating an opportunity for true expungement, because right now, the people who can get expungements are people who were, never found guilty. So oftentimes the people who need them and need the resources are the ones that right now are not even eligible. So I'll, just to give you a little preview, I have another program. It would be my, most recent program that I have not announced yet because I'm still in the process of building it, but it is centered around, second chances and conviction integrity. which means that we're looking at, you know, whether convictions were rightfully met. If they weren't, how could we help people navigate that process who don't have resources? And how do we create that opportunity for second chances like expungement? Because for so long, the law hasn't permitted it. You know, how can I start a program if the law doesn't even allow me to help somebody provide that second chance? So I'm sure as we see changes and developments within the law, there will be a clearer answer about where those resources can be found. But right now, my first battle is to try to create that opportunity for people to be able to get those expungements in the first place. But I will absolutely, I know that you all will, you know, this is a long standing place. So as soon as I find out whether we're going to go in the direction of having true expungements and automatic expungements, and then whether there are resources that need to be had for that process, I will provide that information to you guys.
Very good.
Colonel?
That was my comment then.
Oh, okay. I don't know if you,
My comment.
okay. Well, as we end, Colonel, I don't know if you want to do your spin.
Oh, yes, and if you like what you're seeing out there in Facebook land and on the radio or all the way in Australia, notice I caught that.
You caught it, Colonel. I appreciate you.
Yes,
Good day,
yes.
mate.
So I am paying attention as a good Norfolk State resident too.
And Wayne Too Good is famous now in Australia, okay?
Yes, yes, yes. We are taking donations and we're also looking for sponsorships. And so you can write us or send a donation or a gift to Hampton Roads, Seven Cities Forum, LLC, P.O. Box 7664, Portsmouth, Virginia 23707. And we would greatly appreciate it because we are trying to expand and grow. And that is that's what we should do because more people need to hear this information, especially with these great guests that we have. And so that is my piece.
And our goal is to bring information to the community. Some people want us to be combative, but that is not our goal. Our goal is to bring information to the community so they can digest it and use it to their benefit.
Thank you, Leo and Colonel. I appreciate that. And thank you, the Commonwealth Attorney of the City of Portsmouth, Stephanie N. Morales. We appreciate it. And you know, she is no stranger to our program. She is new to this particular program, and we want to make sure we have her continuously because it's always something involving the law that we need to share with you all. And what we'd like to do here is have our guests have a serious discussion on the topic at hand, but we also like to get you to get to know who that guest is.
Exactly.
And that's why you'll see in between, you see a little lightheartedness though, but we want you to know the person behind that profession that comes up here and shares information. And we appreciate all the Facebook listeners still watching that made your comments. We will pay attention to these comments. We can't always bring them up in the interest of time, but we appreciate your comments and you participating in this program. And well, as we end today, and thank you again for getting up early this morning and having that nice smile early in the morning. We appreciate that.
Thank
but
you.
Here for our voice,
Our community,
In our future.
and thank you so much. This is Portsmouth Coffee Talk.
thanks
Thank
again.
you. God
Stephanie.
bless you.
It's been very enlightening. Thank you so very much. That was a good one. Only problem is the very beginning, my computer decided, James, you still there?
Yeah, I'm coming back.
Okay. The only problem is that at the very beginning, my computer started trying to download Adobe something or another, and it shut me out for a few minutes. So I know that we may not have the very beginning of it on record because it went out on me, but we do have some on record, James. So I don't think the fact that we went to 7:30 would make a difference because of that short period in which it went out.
Okay, how long was it out? It was when you
I'm not
mentioned.
sure. I won't know until I go in and review it.
Okay, it probably will pick back up once it records. Pick back is just be like a jump from one thing to another.
Yeah, I hope so.
When it comes out. So, but
Yeah.
you got the beginning and the end. So,
Mm-hmm.
and most of it, and we have what you have on Facebook
Wait,
as
wait,
well.
wait. Let me end.